Did you see the latest Nintendo newsletter?
Whoa, nice graphics. I'd like to get my hands on that game.
You mean you haven't played it yet? We can play it on my Nintendo Entertainment System.
The video game commercial isn't your average commercial. If you're a gamer, often these are commercials you look forward to watching on TV. And back in the 80s and 90s, that was one of the few ways you could know when a game was coming out. There were none of these leaks or online trailers. We barely had an internet to speak of back in the day. But I digress. A video game commercial can either get you super hyped for an upcoming game, or you may not even care about the game and just the commercial itself. And the ones you're about to see are creative, funny, and quite surreal to be truthful, but they all have a special place in my heart as my top 10 favorite video game commercials. Enjoy, everybody! If anybody had Pokémon 2000 on VHS growing up and actually had the patience to sit through the pre-movie trailers, you may just remember this commercial.
Pikachu, let's play. Pikachu.
Quite possibly the very first video game commercial I ever saw, the Hey You Pikachu ad shows off the powerful bond you and Pikachu will share through this game. A bond so powerful, in fact, you may just ignore your real pets. In this case, a talking dog. And that's what really got me when I first saw this commercial. I mean, when you're 5 years old and you believe just about everything is real, that's a real talking dog. Forget Pikachu, I want the talking dog! Nowadays, I just find this commercial really silly, seeing that dog trying to fight for attention against software. But I'm telling you this right now, if you had a choice between Pikachu and the dog, I still say go for the dog, because from the videos I've seen, Pikachu doesn't listen to you. He's an idiot. Mario Sunshine is probably the most overlooked game out of all the 3D Mario games to date, but I see nothing wrong with it. It's one of those games where you remember having so much fun with it back in the day, and then you remember the special stages and that one jump you know you just can't make. Okay, maybe this game isn't as good as I thought. Another thing I remember about this game were, of course, the commercials. But the one that made it on the list isn't the one with the Caribbean narrator. What made it instead is the commercial everybody's seen. You know, the creepy one?
The world of special place. Cherish life and never waste.
Everyone loves a sunshiny day. We're gonna keep it that way.
Cause clean is better than dirty, and dirty's meaner than clean.
You know, something tells me that commercial just might be the reason this game was so overlooked when it first came out. But at the same time, this is the commercial that made me want to get Sunshine. Also, in an unrelated story, can someone please tell me what Mario is picking up off the ground here? If you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm an avid Banjo-Kazooie fan, and that Banjo-Kazooie and its sequel are some of my favorite games. The two games are very similar in both style and gameplay, but Banjo-Tooie gave you the ability to split up the bear and the bird to do some adventuring of their own, and the commercial for this game showed this feature off in a very creative way.
I don't think you know what you're doing! You need a parachute! That's a backpack!
Kazooie? Banjo and Kazooie have disconnected, now working individually and as a team to tackle their biggest adventure yet, Banjo-Tooie. Rated E for everyone. Just remember, bears still need a bird to fly.
Took that fall like a champ. When I look back to the 90s and its media, I usually think of things like loud, crazy, extreme, and in your face. And I think Sega's commercials from that period in time truly define what I'm talking about. Whether they were showing off the unmatched power of the Genesis or the blinding speed of Sonic the Hedgehog, these ads were flashy, fast, and most importantly, they got the point across. The point being that the Genesis was where it was at, and how the competition, specifically Nintendo, just couldn't keep up with them. 9 times out of 10, Sega would mock the big N in their commercials in one way or another, and you know, Nintendo did nary a thing to fight back. I think they just waited for good old karma to set in, and just look at where Sega is today. But you know, I didn't put Sega on this list to talk crap about them. Sure, these commercials make Sega look cocky and a bit immature, but that's exactly what I love about them. And watching these in 2013 make me think back to the days when the console wars were just beginning. They're like a little slice of gaming history if you think about it, so I gotta give it to Sega for that at least. If you know Sony like the back of your hand, you know they've made their share of commercials that'll make you go, okay, that's enough TV for one day. But there's one Sony ad that isn't so much creepy as it is, shall we say, confusing.
Come out and play! I can't! I'm playing Nut. But there's Portable Nut. What? Yeah, it's a nut you can play with outside.
PSP. It's like a nut you can play with outside.
Alright, let me tell you all the things that are wrong with this. First off, you don't even know what this ad is trying to show off. Heck, you don't even know it's a video game commercial until the very end. But what really confuses me is how the guys who made this thought it would help sell their console. If I was a Sony executive and I saw this, I think I would be pretty mad because I just don't get it! Like I said, you don't even know this is a commercial for the PSP until the last few seconds, and that's if you haven't changed the channel by then. I mean, wouldn't you after watching two presumably coked out squirrels talking about portable nuts for 30 seconds? Well, I sure didn't. In fact, I fell in love with this ad and the ones that followed it. But I'm pretty sure these ads are the reason I never bought a PSP when it first came out.
Yo, I'd hit that. I'd hit that.
Because I just didn't get
I'd
it.
hit that. I'd hit that.
PSP. I'd hit that.
Now you might think we've made some strange game commercials in the Western Hemisphere, but once you've seen some of the stuff they produce overseas, our stuff can't even compare. Japanese video game commercials are unlike anything I've ever seen before. They can be loud, over the top, and above all else, mind-bendingly weird. They can also make the games they're advertising look 10 times better and more action-packed than they actually might be. Take this Mario Kart ad, for example. It makes the game look like a fast-paced, anime-esque free-for-all of a racer, but in actuality... And more often than not, their commercials are usually backed up by an announcer who talks so fast I'm worried he's gonna pass out if he's not careful. And guess what? I'm actually really jealous that Japan and only Japan got to see these on their television screens. Apart from being weird as crap, these commercials are also a lot more creative than the stuff we've made over here, and that's actually saying something. I'm really glad the internet exists, otherwise I would have been completely unaware to what Japan has to offer in the way of advertising, and how much cooler it is than our stuff. I think I'm correct in assuming that the game that made Rare a household name was the very first Donkey Kong Country. This game had a marketing campaign that Wikipedia calls intense, and was hyped like crazy with things like VHS tapes, interviews, and surprise surprise, commercials. Now I want you to imagine for a minute that you're a young kid in the 90s who's never heard of Donkey Kong Country or pre-rendered 3D graphics before, and one day while watching TV, you saw this. Holy crap, Wikipedia was right. Even today that commercial gets me excited to play some DKC, and it plays out almost exactly like a Sega commercial. It was loud, it was all over the place, and maybe for the first time ever, a Nintendo commercial called out Sega, and not one, not two, but 3 of their current consoles at the time. And since nobody ever saw a commercial like this from Nintendo before, you know that meant DKC was some serious business. But nowadays, you gotta ask yourself, was DKC really as hardcore as the commercials said? Always has been, always will be. In the early 90s, Nintendo and Sega were the 2 biggest names in the gaming world. Then in 94, Sony threw their hat into the ring with the PlayStation. But just how would they sell this console and the games that would soon follow? What kind of ad campaigns could we expect from the new guys?
Oi! Geezer! What? Our flight's in 10 minutes! Well, we better hurry then, didn't we?
The Crash Bandicoot commercials from the late 90s are truly something special, and I don't even need to explain why, they practically speak for themselves, but I'm going to anyways. Without a doubt, what made these commercials so great is the guy in the Crash suit. He was laid back, had attitude, and when he took a stab at the competition, he didn't do it behind a TV screen where nobody could beat him up. No, he was a risk taker. Instead, he goes into enemy territory and tells his competitors to their faces their days are numbered. He deserves some respect for that, but it's too bad he hardly ever got any.
I'm gonna give you a personal demonstration. Get off my lawn, you freak! Cover that!
Many say that these commercials are some of the best that the industry has ever put out and are among the most classic. But just you wait till you see the next 2 entries.
You and me. Booyah, Grandma. Booyah!
What kind of person would I be if I didn't put the following on this list? Someone who didn't grow up with the Smash Brothers commercial, that's who.
Me and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, and to be the only one for me is you.
Seriously, I'm at a loss for words for this commercial. Even back when it first aired, I had little to say about it. I just remember having the biggest smile on my face and bursting into laughter the minute these guys started killing each other. Even the song they used in this commercial makes me smile for all the wrong reasons. If I hear So Happy Together on the radio or on television, all I think of is Mario tripping Yoshi and the aforementioned beatdown that soon followed. And I'm sure you all do too. And it'd make me really happy if the next Smash Brothers had a commercial that tributed this masterpiece. If Nintendo does that, I will forgive them for all the bad decisions they've done this year. The whole LP fiasco, the Evo stream thingy, everything, if they just do that. We started this list off with Pokemon, and we're gonna end it with Pokemon. There's certainly quite a lot of commercials for the franchise, and most of them are pretty great. From the Stadium 2000 commercial to the Pinball Ruby and Sapphire commercial that I cannot find anywhere on the internet for the life of me, I had a lot to choose from for my number one favorite. And in the end, I decided to go with...
Hey, little buddy, wanna ride?
Oh yes, this is the one. You want to learn how to make a video game commercial? Look at this. Look at this. This is how you do it. The Red and Blue commercial brought the animated world of Pokemon into our world. And as a young child, I found this so believable, thinking that the Pokemon were actually on that bus. Speaking of which, this bus driver, while he may not look like it, he knows his Pokemon. If you're having trouble catching the original 150, look no further than this guy. While his methods may seem barbaric, they're actually quite effective.
Where can you catch all 150 Pokemon? On your Game Boy, that's where.
Also, he apparently has the technology to turn buses into Game Boys. But in all seriousness, I just find this commercial genuinely entertaining. I remember sitting through the credits of my old Pokemon VHS tapes, and as I was reaching for the VCR's eject button, this popped up. And I'll never forget how excited I was watching this the first time. Still have those VHS tapes, by the way, one of which is signed by Veronica Taylor, but I digress. It's true what they say, while it may sound cliche. They just don't make them like they used to anymore. By which I mean commercials, in case you didn't figure it out. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video, and if you're wondering why I'm talking so lowly, it's cause it's dark out and I gotta keep it down. That's what I get for not doing this earlier. But make sure, remember to like, favorite, subscribe, and yada yada if you liked my stuff. And on a side note, if anybody knows where I can get that Ruby and Sapphire commercial, the one, it was animated and it had Trico was in the pinball thingy. If anybody can find that, you will be my hero forever. Just somebody find it for me, please. Also, I want to say thanks for almost 4,000 subscribers. This is unbelievable. Like, let's keep this sub coaster going, see how long we can keep it going. Also, if you want to follow me on Facebook, I got one of those too. You'll know firsthand when I'm making videos, or if you just want to drop me a line, that's cool too. You can do it there too. But I'll see you guys next time.